What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to not another Isekai. I'm Tyler, and we're of course talking about all the anime from this season, this upcoming season, all the stuff we're watching, and all the Isekai, of course. Well, not all of them, because quality isn't always there, but we actually do have quite a few this season, and even more so. So that's gonna be fun, because I think last season we only covered what, like two, because man, there just wasn't a lot of good ones. But yeah, so we have there are still a few stragglers that are two cores that we're still sticking with, but most of the episode today will be new stuff. Not everything that I would want to watch. I severely underestimated how many new anime that I actually did want to check out this season, so still don't quite have every single one. Next episode though, next week should be talking about every show that I would have wanted to talk about with this season so far. And then by then we'll have a good idea, because like 2 to 3 episodes will be out from all these shows. We'll have a good idea of which ones we actually want to keep, and hopefully an idea of shows that I don't really know about that we might want to pick up. But yeah, so today got a few stragglers, a bunch of obviously all the same ones I covered last week, and then a few new ones too that I haven't talked about yet. So I think there's a good mix. And then, like I said, next week we'll have pretty much everything. There's going to be probably be a long episode. There's going to be like 20 shows, maybe more. But then after that, at that point, unless they're all bangers, that's when we're going to start kind of shaving stuff off. Like, okay, this show's fine, but don't really need to keep that one, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's the preamble. Let's get into it. If I can just hit the right button for once. I always do it wrong. First one, Straggler, My Hero Academia Season 6, Episode 15. We're in the meat of it, man. And kind of like I was saying before, the first half of the show is really like its own arc, it seems like. And right now, like I said, this one is more of a, more of like downtime, we're starting to see the effects of everything that just happened, right? Between the heroes and the villains, Shigaraki, All for One. And unfortunately, doesn't stay downtime for too long. You're like, okay, we're going to stay in the hospital for a little bit, and then it starts popping off again. The villains are not giving the heroes any time to rest. So, first half of the episode, again, is more just rest. We have Shigaraki and Nomu are just walking right up to Tartarus, right? So there's kind of this like weird calm before the storm that's happening here, and it's not good, because while everyone else, all the heroes, they're pretty much in the hospital, right? Like a lot of them are okay, some of them are very not okay. The general public is kind of turning against the heroes, being like, well, what's going on here? How many people just died? Y'all were supposed to have a plan for this. Nothing happened. I mean, they don't really know that much, but, it's a mixture of them and us as the viewer. Their plan didn't work. Villains are run loose. Shigaraki is not in custody. Nomu are running afoot. And then you have the big one of Endeavor, his child. Turns out it's his kid. Everyone's like, is that really your kid? If it is, he's evil, like he's a villain. How'd you not know about this? Some of it I understand, because from just a general public perspective, it's like they want to know. It's like, these villains are dangerous. And now you're telling me that people that were supposed to be on your side are also dangerous? You don't even know about this? Like, you can't, the whole point of Heroes is to make everyone feel safe. And people do not feel safe right now. The part of it that's too much for me, and this is kind of the mob mentality taking into effect, is when there's like reporters being like, asking all these million different questions, wondering when Endeavor's going to do like a press conference, we need answers. And then it cuts to Endeavor, and he's like fighting for his life in the hospital. It's like, all right, guys, come on. Like, this man almost died. He's under physical, turmoil. He's got some emotional turmoil. Like, you know what I mean? And also whatever answer he gives, like, because we know that Endeavor unless he's lying, even in his inner monologue, if he's lying, we know that Endeavor thought that his child was dead, his child was gone. So he's kind of surprised about it as well. If that really is his child, then there's a lot of thoughts going into his head as well, where he's like, how'd you survive? And now also as a dad, he's probably, because he's painted as not a good dude. I think he's done a lot better in recent episodes, recent seasons, to try to try to evolve and kind of break that and be like, okay, I was bad, but I'm trying to do better. Some stuff I don't think can ever be forgiven, but I think he can, at the very least, he should be doing everything in his power to be a better person, and I think he is. But even with all of that, he's still like, damn, like, my son's a villain. he's in the League of Villains with Shigaraki. Like, he's probably gonna be wrecked. I don't know that he's going to come out of that and be like ready to fight. Like, I'm here, I'm gonna do this. Like, I could very much see him like becoming a recluse and kind of losing his will to be a hero, which would be very interesting. And then we cut back to the calm before the storm, which very quickly becomes the storm, with Shigaraki and the Nomu just walking up on Tartarus. Their defense pretty good, but then they hit him with the EMP. Everything went down. First, just kind of like communications went down, and then security went down. We have Shigaraki and All for One double teaming from inside and outside. It's like, this is not this is not what you want, guys. And then and then basically that happens, right? We have them escaping the prison. All these crazy, powerful, dangerous villains are out of there. And then it was synchronized with like 6 other prison breaks. Most of the prisoners from all those have also escaped. It's smart, man. I mean, this is one of those things that not just in this show, not just in anime, but in any sort of storytelling, it's like the hero's hubris is what currently is their downfall, because they thought they had all this on lock, right? We got all the prisons, they're doing well, no one's ever escaped. The heroes for the most part have all the villains on the outside in check. They're getting their, justice, all that stuff for all the villain stuff that's happening. But then all it takes for heroes to become complacent and for them to think more of the situation than what it really is, than how much control they really have, and then something like this happens. And it's interesting that people don't take more precautions, because I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe they could have done everything they were doing, but you have All for One, like the guy. I don't know. I just think it's crazy. Especially with like almost everyone at like the maximum security prison, like the one, everyone there is just regular humans with no quirks. That's strange. There's only 2 people outside of there with quirks, and like their quirks aren't really that crazy. They just have a bunch of arms and they have like Gatling guns, I guess. Like, that wasn't really that crazy. Like, I don't know. I feel like there should be more people with quirks working there and trying to keep everyone safe. In case something like this, even not this, but something on a much smaller scale were to happen. Regular people with machine guns, I don't know that's, all it takes for one, I don't know. Again, it's tough to foresee something, you don't necessarily, just in everyday life, you don't really take every single precaution for every single thing that could ever happen, because you wouldn't be able to live your life, right? And I suppose that does work on a grand scale, but like, this is the building with like the baddest of the bad in it, and 99% of your workforce are people that are quirkless. I mean, like, what if nothing triggered it, but what if the security were to just fail one day? It's like they're still gonna go nuts with quirk. Like, come on, I don't know. It's stupid, man. And then just real quick, back to the hospital, a couple big things that happen here, including one of them being a huge cliffhanger. One is that Todoroki has kind of come to terms that he has to be the one to take down Toya. He feels that Toya is very similar to him, using his hatred for his father to get stronger, all that stuff. So, he feels like it's not really Endeavor's job to do that. It is his job. He has to be the one. So that'll be interesting. I'm sure at some point, I don't know, maybe this season, but definitely by next season, we will get that matchup. So that'll be cool. And then the other thing, the big cliffhanger for the episode is that everyone's doing well, right? Everyone's recovering. We got Todoroki who's waking up. We got Bakugo. We got Aizawa. Still crazy, man. Dude cut off his lower leg. he's a real one. But we have Midoriya. Midoriya's the only one who might not wake up. And that's kind of where we leave it. Man, more than anyone, Midoriya gave his life for this fight. Endeavor's not doing well. I don't know if they actually said what his condition was, but I imagine he's in that classic, like, critical but stable, sort of thing. But Midoriya's not doing well. They're the only one where he's like, he's not showing any signs of, like, imminently waking up, And then that is also bounced off of Bakugo's whole thing, where he has a very funny line, where he's like, if he dies, I'm gonna kill him. And again, Bakugo's another one of those characters where I could see people never coming around on Bakugo. I was one who was very late to Bakugo. People love Bakugo, and I'm just like, for like the first 4 seasons, I'm like, why do people like him? Like, he sucks. He's a bully. Like, well, why do you like him? But the past season or two, I kind of understand, right? He's still not like my favorite character, but I do understand why people like him, because I feel like earlier on in his childhood, that's kind of how he was raised. And he didn't really understand how to express his dreams, basically, because he looks up to All Might probably as much as Midoriya does. He wants to be the number one hero. He wants to save people. He wants to do all this stuff, but I think he just didn't really know how to express it. And, he just went super far the one way into just being like, I'm better than everyone. I'm gonna be the best. No one's gonna take me down. You have to be strong. So we looked at Midoriya like, hey, you're weak. You're not even worth my time. How are we in the same class when I'm working to be the number one here and I actually have the ability to do so and you're not? So again, not excusing it, but as seasons have gone, I understand why. And then it's even stuff like this where he's like Midoriya's number one fan, honestly, and you love to see it. So yeah, that was the episode. The season continues to hit, and we're closing in on the end. Again, we're not like there. We still have like 10 episodes left, or 9 episodes, I guess. But we're closing in. We're almost 2/3 of the way through. So, are we getting towards like a fight with All For One? Because All For One's out. Him and Shigaraki, they're taking people. They're reconvening somewhere. So I don't know. Could be crazy. But next we got Blue Lock, episode 14. This is pretty cool. So we're coming off of a huge loss. Now we have Isagi and Nagi, and we're starting to realize what the selection is kind of for, right? Like, Nagi kind of hits the nail on the head where he says that the selection is to kind of showcase your individual skills, to be like, there's not enough people on the field to have like a crazy teamwork. Obviously, there are situations where you should be passing and all that, but for the most part, it is like you have to be good individually, because, especially with a 2-on-2, it's like there's only 2 of you, like focus is going to be on you no matter what. Like, you have to best your man, or else no one else matters. You know what I mean? And we gets a little heated, right? But we realize the core of their issues is that Isagi needs Bakura. We've seen that throughout everything, where Isagi and Bakura were the team. Where when Isagi wasn't doing well, he could always count on Bakura. And the same thing with Nagi. Nagi needs Reo. He's never played a match without Rayo before, so now that you have someone that isn't Rayo on your team, it's tough. But that is the beauty of this selection, is that it's showcasing their individual abilities, and it is putting them with each other, with teammates that never really played together before. So now they're trying to learn more about each other, see what they need, and Isagi is now hitting his nail on the head, and he's talking about how they need someone to pass. That's what they need. They need a good passer on their team, because Isagi can, smell a goal or whatever, but it doesn't mean he can always deliver one. And then Nagi, on the other hand, isn't really a passer necessarily. There have been moments where he's made plays, but for the most part, he receives. He gets into a position where he can use his crazy ball control and score a goal. So now now that's good. They kind of understand more about themselves, about each other, and that plays into just the 2-on-2 in general. I mean, that's kind of where everyone is. Where everyone is super cautious about their next matchup, because they know if they lose, it's 1-on-1, and if you haven't made it this far, you're probably not super confident in your abilities to beat someone 1-on-1. And also with the 1-on-1, it's like, if you are better than someone, they're probably not going to say yes to a match with you. So you're going to have to try to beat someone that's better than you, or at least like same level, right? One thing I really like about this episode was the Naruhaya. About his whole, interactions with Isagi, where at first, the one that I made note of was how he was just telling Isagi how it was, where he was like, hey, we're the same. We're both on a team with someone who other teams are going to want over us. So we know that we have to win our next match, because we're not going to be picked. We're not going to be, popping up to the 3-on-3s anymore, because they're going to pick our teammates. That's interesting. I mean, I don't really remember a lot about Naru, like what he did or anything like that. I mean, he seems like a very forgettable character. I don't really remember him. But he's right, because I don't remember much about him. But with Isagi, it's funny that this whole Blue Lock thing is trying to be like egotists, and you're supposed to be the one. But Isagi almost like, he makes place for other people a lot, and I think that, we he talks a lot about not being able to pass, but even with that, I think he, more than anyone, I think, makes plays for his whole team. I mean, we've seen that up until this point, where he's smelling a goal, he's putting people in position, right? I think he only recently learned how to put himself in the position, and so with this, it is, it is put to the forefront, where he's like, in a sense, he should be able to put Nagi in a position to score, but him and Nagi don't really play together. They don't know each other that much. And then he's always had many other teammates to rely on and sort of move around as not puzzle pieces, more like chess pieces, right? With this, it's like, it's just him and Nagi, so he does actually have to do everything himself. He does have to, fall into line with the whole, hey, 1-on-1, man, you got to be good 1-on-1, because we don't have Bakira and what's some other people, I can't think of any of their names. The one dude who could run really fast, the other dude who could score, who's a super powerful shot, all them other teammates, Bakira, of course. You don't have that anymore. You have you and Nagi, so you have to win your matchup before you can even really think about putting Nagi in the position. But they start to do kind of well. Baru kills it, right? But then Nagi just levels up. He has these crazy heel kicks. He's able to like receive the pass with his back to the pass, which is ridiculous. And so with Nagi, it's like, okay, we might win. The problem is that Baru and Nagi are sort of matching each other 1-for-1, which we sort of expected, right? Or we're at least hoping that Nagi would be able to keep Baru in check, which he's not really keeping him in check, but he is scoring on his end as well. So it's kind of like tit for tat sort of thing. So then, Isagi realizes that it's all up to him. It's whoever wins between him and Naru. And Naru steps up at the end, man. Naru passes him. He's sort of getting in his head. he receives the ball. Baru's like, hey, pass it back. And Naru's like, ha, yeah, okay. I'm scoring. And so not only has Naru put it in not Izuki's head that they're both just average Joes, right? Baru, Nagi are masterminds, they're average Joes. But now he's sort of chipping away at Isugi a little bit, Isugi is, it just takes that one goal. And again, at the end, we don't see Naru score. We don't see him score. But I mean, it's implied, you know. It's implied that the ball is going to go past Blue Lock Man and score. Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, I think I could go either way. I think if he scores, it's going to be very impactful because it is going to break Isugi. You know, we're going to cut to Isugi and he's going to be super down. But, that's cool, right? I'm sure. Because, like, in my mind, Isugi's not going to lose. Isugi and Nagi are not going to lose this because I really don't know that it's possible for Isugi to win on his own. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the route they're going to take with this arc, is that they are going to make Isugi lose and they're going to put him by himself. Because I think he's, up until this point, he's done such a good job of adapting to his teammates. But now that he's done that, we're going to strip him of all of his teammates, and we're going to and we're going to force this character to evolve and grow, and then he's going to come back with a vengeance, right? That could be interesting. I don't think that's how they're going to play it, though. I think Isugi and Nagi are going to win. So then there's two things there, right? The first is what's going to happen with the goal. I think it's possible he might block it. It's anime, so it's like the way they frame it here, it's like, well, Naru's clearly past him. Like, there's no way a human being could jump, 15 feet backwards and block a goal that's already been shot, right? It's impossible. But it's anime, so they might frame it differently when they open the next episode. Right, so that could happen. And then the other thing was, okay, you're saying Isugi and Nagi are going to win. Who are they going to take? I think they would take Naru, honestly. Baru is too selfish to me. I don't think they want him on their team because he doesn't respect anyone. Like, even in this moment where he passed to Naru, he wanted it back immediately because he was in trouble and he saw an opportunity. He was like, okay, pass it here, pass it back. But at the end of the day, like, they need someone to pass to them for Nagi and Isugi to truly shine. And again, they don't need someone who just passes, right? Like, obviously it'd be incredible if they had someone who was like a master passer, right? But they don't need someone like that. They just need someone who is willing to pass and who doesn't want everything for themselves. And Naru has proven to be that, right? Just him being on a team with Baru. So I think if they win, they're going to take him. Even though Naru isn't like a super strong character, maybe we'll see more of him next time, because him scoring this goal does not prove that he's strong. Even if he scores this goal, I still think he's weaker than Isugi and Nagi, but we'll see. We'll see. Next, The Eminence in Shadow, episode 15. We are 3/4 of the way through this show. And let me tell you, you guys, if you guys have been, keeping up every week, all that stuff, thank you, obviously. It's awesome talking anime. But you'll know that Eminence in Shadow has kind of taken a dip for me. I'm too far in to drop it, But like the first 10 episodes were like, this is a pretty cool show. I like this show, right? And then moved on to this next arc, the next 4 to 5 episode arc, and I just didn't like it. I just felt like it was such a departure from what the show was. And now, episode 15, we're back. We're back, boys. We're back and ready to attack, all right? Because I guess what I've realized that I like about Eminence in Shadow, I like that this show he is Lord Shadow, he is the Eminence in Shadow, and he just has this weird thing where he wants to, start from the bottom. Now we're here. That's what he wants to do. He wants to prove that he can do it, right? Because, it's just like an accolade, right? It's almost like an achievement in a video game, or a trophy, or didn't like Nintendo have something called like accomplishments or something? But most notably achievements in Xbox games or PC games too as well. Um, Maybe just Xbox. I don't know. Where it's like, so achievements in video games are like, or if you don't know, are like special things that you can do in a video game that just grant you an achievement. It doesn't give you anything. It just gives you a little like score, and the more achievements you get, the higher your like gamer score is. All that stuff. And, some people really like achievements. I play on PlayStation, so I more so, my version is trophies. I don't really care about them too much. I feel like if there's a game I really like, I might look at the trophy list just to see how doable it is. So if it's a game I really like and it's a trophy list I think is doable for me, I might try to get all the trophies just to say I did it. Anyway, that's a tangent. The whole point of that was saying, that is kind of what, Sid is trying to do, where he's like, hey, I'm the dopest man alive. Can I get this dope from starting as just a regular guy in school, just a regular student, whatever, trying to be a background character. At this point in the show, he already has all the powers. He's more so just trying to like build up the theatrics of it, I guess. And less so trying to get from one place to another. But that is the part of the show that I really enjoy, and that's what I've realized about the last 4 episodes. This little mini arc they had was that it felt like that had nothing to do with the Sid regular background character becoming Eminence in Shadow, storyline. It had nothing to do with that. It just, the first 10 episodes was it, right there meeting the princess, Sherry, the whole Shadow Garden thing, like that whole 10 episodes was great. And the next 4 episodes was just like, okay, at least it's kind of still there. He's got like the tournament thing where he shows up and Aurora's there. Okay, I guess that's cool. And then the whole sanctuary thing was just like, why is this here? What is happening? And then all the fan service too with like the girls, like that whole side of it was just like, But now with episode 15, we're back. We are back, and we are ready. Okay. Because we're now having a little tournament thing, and this is perfect. This is perfect for what he wants to do, right? He is, with Gamma's help, he is now disguised as Mundane Man. If that wasn't beating you over the head with what he is, I don't know what will. But he's gonna disguise in the tournament. He's gonna try to be this character that no one really knows too much about. They think he's trash, and then he's gonna just win, right? Especially when he gets towards the end, he's gonna, I think that this is the moment where he's like, this is where I'm going to be the Eminence in Shadow, right? I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna get to the finals, and I'm gonna go off. So that's really cool. I like that. We're kind of back on track with what this show was, where I just feel like the last 4 episodes were just like, it was just like, it almost felt like filler. It felt like when like the long shonen anime, when they have filler, and it's like, it might be cool, it might not be cool, but why is it here? Has nothing to do with the story. Maybe those episodes are more important than I gave them credit for. I just don't see it. So this thing back in the tournament, we're disguising ourselves. We're gonna be another like background character, still going off though. Double tapping this man's chin at the speed of sound. Like this is what I want. And there's a purple girl. I don't remember her name, but she's the only one that might have actually been able to see what Mundane Man did. Because she's like, oh, he hit him in the chest once, no, twice. So I'm sure she's gonna be a character that will be reoccurring and maybe like call Mundane Man out on something. I don't know, something like that. And at the end, we got President Rose. Big cliffhanger, I guess. President Rose stabbed her man and is now gone, nowhere to be seen. And now Sid is like, wait, what? Why? Why did she do that? I just saw her the other day. Might play into what he kind of talked to her about. Wasn't his goal for his advice, but so now we're back to having a few things on his plate. President Rose, Got the purple girl that'll pop back up, him being Monday Man in the tournament. A few different factors here. We're getting back into the show. So I'm happy about this. I am now excited for the next episode. So we'll see what happens. Next we got Spy Classroom episode 2. I enjoyed this episode. I feel like one thing I'm not loving about the show is I feel like the pacing a little quick for me. Because they're like already on the impossible mission. I feel like we didn't see them like I thought the show was gonna be more us seeing them train and like build up to it, and like the show might end with the impossible mission. And I guess they're not on. Are they on the mission right now? I'm still not super super sure what's happening. Well, no, because the whole point of it, are they gonna like take down the people who killed their squad? I don't know. But anyway, we're here now. I'm enjoying the show. The like first half of the show was all about their new regiment, right? They, instead of Klaus trying to teach them something traditionally, he's just gonna have them do more like practical stuff where it's like, hey, you're going to have to take me down by the end of the month. Take me down. And we have this nice little montage of them trying different tactics, but none of them work, right? They're all garbage. He sees them from a mile away. And on top of that, we see a little bit more of his backstory, where he's like, all right, he was an orphan, raised to be a spy, which is cool. It's not something we've never heard before, but that does add to his character, and it does shed some light as to kind of who he is, what he does, like why he's such a good spy. That's all he had, right? He was raised to be a spy to protect his family, right? So it kind of adds some humanity to his character, where the spies didn't really think he had any. They're just like, oh, he's the best forever, and he's great, and whatever. And then on top of that, this is a very Klaus-heavy episode. We learned that he was part of Team Inferno, which was like the greatest spy team ever assembled, who also took on the impossible mission. They failed. Not only did they fail, everyone died except for Klaus. So, so again, just adding more humanity to his character, kind of showing that he does care. Like there are things that, like he has emotions, basically. He's not just this like robotic spy. Like he does have emotions. Like he has things that burden him. And you realize that this whole impossible mission part 2 is a revenge story for him. He's like, I gotta do this. I gotta avenge my Team Inferno. It's even at the end where he's like, I'm not gonna force any of you to take on this mission. It is very dangerous. Like the best of the best, which we were, could not win. So, but they're all awesome, right? They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then at the very end, we learned some things. They apparently are trying to steal the sample from ND Laboratory. I don't remember exactly what that is. They did mention like biological warfare, so pretty important, right? And then they all fall asleep at their little party. And it's funny because at first Klaus is very upset with them, but then there's this notion that it's like, hey, like we're all super nervous. Like we are all on edge. We're not taking this lightly, but you being here puts our minds at ease. We are able to rely on you. We're able to count on you. And then we have a little bit of a flashback with, I don't know, like some person that was important to him as a child. Like, I don't know if it was, I don't know, like his real mother, surrogate mother. I don't know. They did mention how he was an orphan. So I'm like, I don't know who that really is, but how it's like, if someone trusts you enough to watch them sleep, then that that just goes to show how comfortable they are around you and how much they trust you, how much they can rely on you. So now flash forward to present day, where this entire squad of 7 spies is like they're like sleeping in front of him, right? So it's like, oh, a little bit of a raising that up from that situation and putting it in this one. So a lot of stuff gained there. Again, this was a very Klaus heavy episode. I like learning more about him though. I'm sure we'll learn even more at some point. Um, and I'm just ready. I'm ready to actually see this mission in action. Again, I don't quite remember if this is the impossible mission or if this is just like a leg of the mission. If like they need to do this to then do the mission, I don't quite remember. But I'm excited to finally see them all in action. Right? There's a change of plans at the end where like East and West are flipping them, whatever. But I just can't wait to see them in action. Like, because we didn't really see them train too much. We saw a montage of them trying to take down Klaus, but I thought that's more so what the show was going to be. It was going to be most of it them training, them like in school sort of thing. And then the last like few episodes or whatever is going to be, here's the impossible mission. But right now it's like, oh no, we're just kind of skipping all that. And now we're going right into it, which I'm excited for. I'm excited to see all their spy stuff, 'cause that's really all we want to see, right? That's all we want. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Again, episode 2, I don't see myself letting up on this show, but maybe, you never know, next, we have The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, episode 2. Just continues to be a nice, fun time, right? Just a cute little show. We have Sheena, who sprained her ankle saving a cat, and Fujimiya carried her home, right? So even there, it's like, come on, like this whole show is trying to be something that we know it's not. It's trying to trick us. Like, they're gonna end up together, right? Like, they keep having this like this notion that, Sheena especially is like, oh no, I'm just doing this because, oh, I love cooking, so someone who I can cook for is always great, or oh, I just feel bad for you because of how you live, or just like, oh, like this and that, like, she keeps trying to say that it's mutually beneficial, and then whatever she kind of gets put in a corner, she threatens to stop coming over and like stop cooking and whatever, and because she knows that Fujimiya is not gonna want that, so it's like, oh, it's mutually beneficial, oh, it's we both gain something out of this. It's like, yeah, but why? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, why do you keep coming over here? Like, you could say, oh, it's this and that, but it's like, because they kind of put on this mask of like, oh, they don't really like each other, they're just kind of two people that coexist. It's like, no, that is not what this is, and you know it. And it's funny because they both study pretty hard. Sheena is always like number 1, right? But Fujimiya was in like rank 30 or something like that, which is pretty dang good, pretty dang impressive. And we find out that Fujimiya studies so he can live alone, right? I guess by like a arrangement that he has with his parents, where he's able to live alone as long as his grades don't slip, right? Like, you have to prove that you're still a productive human, right? Sheena studies because she has to, and that is where it's left. We do not hear any more about that. We don't know what that means. She kind of like gets up to leave after she says that. There's some predictions. I'm assuming none of them are good. Whatever reason it actually is not going to be like a happy reason. Because as soon as that was said, I was like, oh, it's got to be something bad. Like, it's got to be like, I don't know. Because, when you watch enough anime, you start to see trends, you start to see tropes, you start to see, So when it's something like this, I'm like, oh, she's studying for somebody, right? Like, she needs to get a good, go to a good university, to get a good job, to get money or whatever for something, right? So it's like, is it like a sick relative that she needs to take care of? Or, or maybe it's something bad where it's like, she has bad parents and like her parents will disown her if, I feel like it's, it's very pessimistic to immediately think of, oh, she has to study for something bad, because she, because of a very negative situation. But that's just how anime is set up. Like, I don't imagine that it's like, oh, I study because I have to, because I want to have a good life. It's like, well, she would have just said that, the reason why she kept it so vague is because it's something bad. It's something personal. Like, it's got to be. I'm sure we'll get that at some point. I'm sure they'll tell us why at some point. But that was definitely a moment where it's like, oh, this, we will come back to this later. um, and then it's Sheena's birthday coming up soon, and Sheena says that she wants a sharpening stone for her knives. And it's funny because she's like, you know, don't assume I'm like every high school girl or whatever, right? Every teenage girl, whatever it says. Which is true. She's not. She is not. And then Fujimiya ends up getting her some hand cream, which is very thoughtful, very practical, right? Because she's always using her hands. She's always, cooking or cleaning or whatever, right? So it's like, oh, it's a very practical gift. But then he also gets her a teddy bear, which is less practical. And it's funny because, again, playing that role where he's like, oh, I mean, if you don't like it, you can always, toss it or whatever. And she's like, I would never do that. Very protective of the teddy bear all of a sudden. And, again, we have a nice little cute moment where it's like, oh, it's just mutually beneficial. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's like, no. Maybe it started out like that, but we're only 2 episodes in. And anyone who's watching this show has to look at it and say, they clearly like each other. They're going to end up together. Like, that is exactly what's going to happen. And I can't wait. I can't wait for that. That is the moment I am waiting for, and it's going to be incredible when it happens. I know it. Yeah, loving the show so far. 2 episodes in. If the show just keeps this energy, I'm in for the whole time. So I'm here. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do predictions because there's no like cliffhangers or anything. Like, the only thing I can think of is that like maybe we'll hear more about Sheena and why she studies. Maybe next episode. I don't know if they'll get that close though. Because also I feel like that could be a moment where it's like a moment. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's because of this. So we'll see. Next we have the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague, episode 2. Another show that I'm super into. That's just a fun time, right? Very similar to the Angel show. It's just a good time, right? So we have Himuro. He loves the beach environment so much that he thinks something bad will happen. Again, there's that sort of cliffhanger last episode where he's like, something bad will definitely happen. And we're like, ooh, what could it be? What could it be? And it's like, oh no, he just loves it, that he knows he's going to get super emotional and something will happen. But then it's flipped later on when, there's like a news thing and it's like, we're reaching summer-like temperatures already here. It's going to be a scorcher. And he is concerned because apparently when it's hot, he melts and shrinks. Because again, he's from like the Snow Woman or whatever. So it's not only like, oh, he gets emotional, blizzard happens, all that stuff. It's like, no, if it gets super, super hot, he will shrink. And it is the goddamn cutest thing you've ever seen, right? Because he just looks like a little child. And then, it's great because, shoot, I didn't write down her name. I forgot her name. Isn't like Fuyutsuki or something like that? It's something like that, right? She comes in the clutch. She gets some popsicles from like the hotel, I think, right? Because the convenience store is all out, but it's like the hotel like dessert like tray or something has popsicles. So we had to get popsicles, able to remedy the situation. But she was just there and she was in awe of him because just a little child. So it's so cute. And but then also she's like, oh, you're always taller than me. So for you to be smaller than me to like pat your head and stuff, it's like, ooh, it's like a different feeling, So again, a nice little moment there. And then also just, to see him vulnerable, I think that's a very important part of this relationship. That's definitely growing and forming. But yeah, that was just super cool to see. I mean, because other than that, it was just a good time, right? They all had a good time. They're watching cat pictures. They're watching the fireworks, all that stuff. So, that was the moment that this whole episode was kind of set up around, was what happens when that happens. And, it's kind of hiding, maybe a little embarrassed about it. But then, she doesn't even skip a beat. She's like, this is incredible. I love it. And also, I'm going to help you. So yeah, again, I love this show. It is more of just kind of, I wouldn't really say slice of life because it is like, has romance and comedy in it as well, but it is more on like the slice of life spectrum, where it is like, I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot of like conflict or like stress induced from this show. I think it is just gonna be a nice show where they, cute little moments happen and learn more about each other, and at some point they might like get together and be like a couple. Um, that's really all I need. That's all I'm looking for. With these type of shows, I don't need to be like on the edge of my seat. I just need to watch it and just like smile at like the fun stuff that's happening on screen. And so far, 2 episodes in, it is checking both all those boxes. So we're here for it. Next is the show that I guess people are really digging. So I'm happy. It is the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young lady, episode 2. Episode 2. So first off, I just want to look at this title real quick because I'm starting to understand the title. The magical revolution, right? That's obviously with the whole magicology thing they're trying to do. Genius young lady, that's obviously talking about Ophelia, who is a genius young lady. Reincarnated princess, though, is Anisphia reincarnated from something? Was that set up at all? I don't think it was. I feel like that's something that we're gonna learn later. But anyway, if it is reincarnated, a little bit of an isekai action. Maybe this is like technically an isekai, so we're there. We're here. But anyway, so the whole kind of setup for this episode is that Anisphia wants to make Ophelia happy. She's like, oh, broken off. Algard broke off the engagement. So I'm gonna take her and I'm gonna make her happy. She will be mine. And it is sort of set up in a way of like, I want her to like. I think a lot of fans of the show are really hype about them being together, like them being a couple, Anisphia and Ophelia. Especially as the episode goes on, I think they have a nice relationship. I don't know that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Anisphia messes with her a bunch, especially towards the end where she lays on the bed and she's like, why don't you come to bed, or whatever. And she's like, oh, it's just a joke, messing with you, and then even, when she's talking to her about the proposal about like Anisphia working with Ophelia on the research of magicology, because she has like the sciencey stuff, and then Ophelia can actually use magic, so them together, and she's like super smart and stuff. So it's like, yes, please be on my team. You can help me with this. But even when that she's like da 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 da, and I hope you fall in love, and she kind of gets close to her, and Ophelia's like, you mean like in love with the project, right? And it's just funny because again, it's like, no, in love with me, but no, the project. So again, I think they're teasing it. I think they'll probably get together. I mean, just because you watch enough anime, you sort of see the signs, and it's like, yeah, I mean, they're clearly setting it up for that. If they don't, I'm not gonna be upset or anything, but I think the overall sort of direction that's going is they're gonna get together. Especially with how it was set up with Ophelia is supposed to be with Algard and then breaking it off and then Anisphia being like, I will save you. I will steal you away. But yeah, and then we learn a little more about each other. Not a lot actually like physically happened this episode, but I think the introduction and the introduction of their relationship with them working together kind of sets up the whole rest of the show, where I feel like the rest of the show depends on this episode. It's like, okay, we're together, we're researching. Now the rest of the show is going to be us experimenting and picking each other's brain and making stuff, like I can't wait for that. That's going to be super cool. But yeah, a little bit about each other. Like, we see that Anisphia is jealous of Ophelia because she can use magic. Obviously if Anisphia could do magic, then she would have been getting going with this project way sooner, because her whole thing is magicology, kind of mixing science and magic, just basically trying to make magic accessible for everyone for the better of their lives, because like, if everyone can use certain types of magic, then it can make everyone's lives easier. It can maybe save lives, that sort of thing. Super noble undertaking, really. And then she even has this really, really cute moment where she says that she wants to see Ophelia smile because she's only really seen her smile when she was using magic. She feels like that area, like that sort of area of her life is what makes her the happiest. So like when she's with Algard, for example, or doing like the political stuff or whatever, that side of her life that she has to burden because of her lineage, not really super happy. She wants to make her happy, So that's really cool. Again, a nice little moment that could very well be interpreted as like, I want to make you happy. You know what I mean? Like I can make you happy. I feel like us together. That the whole thing. And then Yuffie, nice little nickname that Anisphia has for her. Yuffie thinks that Anisphia is weird, is as weird as they say, right? And Anisphia takes a little bit of hurt to that, but it's mostly fake, right? But I mean, it's true though, right? Like you can't, you know, who who would say otherwise? Nobody would say otherwise. Because she is weird. She uses a weird weapon. She's going out as, what was it, like the Marauder Princess or something? Like, she just like took Yuffie in for just the, like, at its core, the simplest of reasons. Like you're a very weird person. um, but it's cool. Like I said, it ends off, and you just kind of have this nice feeling where you're just like, these are two characters that I can get behind. They're working towards a very noble cause, noble project. Like, I wonder how much politics is actually going to be in this show. You know, like, with them both being like royalty in one way or another. Like, I wonder how much. I wonder, I wonder what that's gonna happen. Or if it is just gonna be, maybe it will just be like a smaller show where there's just these two working together, doing stuff, inventing stuff. Like, I'd be down for that as well. So, again, still super into the show. A couple episodes in, we'll see where it goes. Right, just like every show, but I'm in. Like this is dope. Next, we have Buddy Daddies. Again, one of my favorite shows this season. It's just such a good premise. It's such a good premise. Buddy Daddies episode 2, of course. So we see at the beginning they are not great dads, right? Like Ray isn't really the dad. Like, he's more like the uncle, but he's not taking care. This is not my problem. And then what's his name? Kazuki kind of forgets that Miri's even there. And then he's just like, because like the whole episode is him being accustomed to doing that, right? So like, because he's never had a kid, so he's like, oh, kind of just throws her in the bathroom. It's like, well, no, she needs help, and then like dealing with her wanting things, and you can't really have them. Just the simplest things of like, teaching her, hey, you have to think, you have to be thankful for the food before you eat the food. Just like small stuff like that. Him even wanting to leave her in the apartment by herself. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't do that. But I would like to see how he grows. Because even like the very beginning of episode 1 was like, we've already moved past this. So I like to see where it gets to that moment. And then what else do we have? It also turns out I was wrong last episode. And maybe I just read it wrong, or maybe that was like the, what the show was trying to do, or maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. But yeah, that Miri is not Kazuki's kid. I thought Kazuki was the father, because I thought that Kazuki also, based on like a flashback that we had in episode 1, that he also had a wife and a kid. So like, I was like, oh, that's clearly his kid. Like, it really is his kid. But no, it's not. It turns out that it's not Kazuki's kid. Miri is the daughter of the one guy that they killed in their mission last episode. So now that's the whole thing. They're trying to find out who it is. Maybe give the kid back. It's a long shot though, because it's like, even their dude was like, I did all my research and he didn't have a child. Not according to my records. And then let's see. But yeah, and then one reason I like the show and shows like this is because of the like juxtaposition between both of the storylines. It is like, oh, they're spies. They're like, spies, assassins, whatever. Um, but then you have Miri at home, and it's a great scene because it perfectly encapsulates this sort of back and forth that I'm talking about, where they get back home and um, their whole place is ransacked, and it's like, oh no, something's happening, and it's really quiet. So it's like two things: one, someone was here looking for something. Clearly, they know that they're spies, because why else would someone do this? And then two, it's quiet. Where's Miri? Did they hurt her? Did they kidnap her? What is happening? And so they go through, and it turns out that Miri was the one who ransacked the place. Not sure why. I guess just kind of she was upset, or maybe she was looking for a good hiding place, because she is now playing hide and seek. Not only is she playing hide and seek, she has a gun. It's not loaded. Ray made sure of that. Ray, but she has a gun. It's like, you are 4 years old, my lady. You need to put this down. But no, and the reason I point that scene out is because there's dangers, right? Like, again, this is kind of showing that there are dangers, and you just having this kid is dangerous, and then you leaving her alone. It's like, what if someone who dislikes you, some rival member or whatever, goes there and is like, oh, there's a kid here. Oh, they have a kid. We're going to use that against them. And again, you can say, oh, it's not our kid. It's like, but you care enough. Like, you guys at this point may not love Miri as a daughter, but you at the very least are good people who care enough about her to take her in and be like, okay, we're going to take her in for now. We're going to figure out where she belongs, all that stuff. Then we have some cute moments here where Miri, mentions how this like steak, I think it was steak. It was steak of some sort. It was meat of some sort. How it's different than her mother's. And so Kazuki's like going off because he's super happy. He's like, oh, finally someone here talks about my food, and like, because I put so much work into the food, and someone actually points out something about it. And then Miri cuts him off and is like, mom's is better. It's such a good moment because Kazuki just gets ruined, and then Ray on the side, he just he just like chuckles to himself. It's very subtle, but it's incredible because it's such a good moment. It's such a good moment. Um, and then they're actually on a mission, and they have to bring her along because like, well, we can't leave her alone again, and she has to go to the bathroom, and so she takes it upon herself because she's 4, and why would she do any differently? Where she goes up to the house, and she's like, gotta go to the bathroom, and of course, as a grown man, especially in like a show, right, where this guy's supposed to be on guard duty, he's like evil in one sense or another, I guess. You expect him to be like hard and tough and get out of here type thing, but she's a child who is in distress. She just has to go to the bathroom. You're confused, but you're like, she's just a child, man. Like, just bring him and go to the bathroom, and she does. And then, even at the very end, he's like, well, it's, I'm just glad you didn't, you didn't make a mess everywhere, right? You can kind of like mask it like that. Like, even if it didn't hit him in the feels of like, oh, it's just a little girl. Like, yeah, let's help her out, whatever. Like, what's the harm? She still has to mask it of like, oh, well, at least you didn't like, pee all over the ground. I guess, that's all I care about. And then, and then she walks by. It's such a good, this show and Miri, I don't know what Buddy Daddies is based off of. I'm assuming it's based off of manga. It feels very manga, like, I can almost see like the different panels and stuff, of the story so far, the first 2 episodes. But like, this show gives me very Spy Family feelings, and not only because it's spies and a daughter and all that stuff, but like just like their interactions with each other, like how, so like Spy Family, for people who don't know, is a very popular manga and a super popular anime as well. That just had an anime adaptation last season. Season 2 of Spy Family came out. So if you haven't seen that, go watch it. I did cover it. I did cover it on this podcast, actually. Yeah, I was doing that week to week. And it's basically about a spy man who is with an assassin lady, and neither of them know each other, right? So like the spy guy does not know that his wife is an assassin, and vice versa, right? And then they have a daughter who's a telepath who can read minds, but neither one of them know that she can read minds. But she knows that both of them are a spy and assassin because she can read minds. So she knows. Anyway, one of the best parts of that story is how the daughter just gets into like the funniest situations, and also how she reacts to stuff in such a funny way. So the reason I bring that up is because it's similar with this show too, where it's like Miri, and again, she's not as aware as the daughter is in Spy Family, because daughter in Spy Family can read minds, but with Miri, it's like she just does stuff that's funny, like she's just a 4-year-old. She's just a funny kid, like she's like, her pulling out the gun and hide and seek is like the funniest thing ever. Her saying that mom's food is better is hilarious. And so like her coming in here, going to the bathroom, walking out, be like, okay, I'm gonna leave now, whatever. And her like walking out and like passing a corner and just like freezing in place and just like staring up at at Kazuki who's hiding, and just like her eyes go super wide. The shot just freezes there for a second, and it's like, oh no, something's gonna happen. She is not supposed to be there. That was really good. That was really good. But at the very end, we have a very sad moment. A moment that is totally fabricated. It's not actually gonna happen. Like, again, if you watch enough anime or just consume enough stories, whether that be through like movies or books or whatever, video games, whatever, there is no way they're going to get rid of Miri. I mean, first off, we know at the very beginning of the first episode was sort of like a flash forward almost, of Kazuki and Rei being on a mission, and then their like nanny calling and being like, oh yeah, Miri's not doing very well, and Kazuki's like, what? And Rei's like, oh yeah, she was like kind of sick in the beginning or whatever, whatever, right? So like at that point in that moment in the show, at the very beginning, they've already had Miri for a while. So like them trying to gaslight us into thinking that they're actually going to give up Miri, it's not going to happen. But there might be some predictions there where it's like, easy prediction, small brain prediction, they're not going to give Miri up. Duh, right? Big brain prediction, why though? What's the reason? Now, I think a very like tropey reason would be, oh, they just love her, right? They fall in love with her, whatever. But I don't think that's true, because they clearly don't love her. It's not that they hate her, but like, just the way they act, it's very much like, oh, we're just taking care of her, like we're decent human beings, so we're of course, and also the reason why she's not with her dad right now is because we killed her dad. So maybe, maybe we should just keep her for a hot second. I think maybe, I'm not a writer, right? At one point I do have stuff I'd like to write, but I'm not a writer, so I'm not going to pretend. But like, I feel like they might go more the direction of the mom sucks, right? Either the mom sucks or the mom's dead. Now, the mom dying in this very short amount of time would be very sudden, but it's possible, right? Maybe no more relatives, whatever. Or maybe the mom sucks. Like, not saying that she's like abusive, I'm not going to go that route where she's like, oh no, if we give Miri back to the mom, the mom's gonna like kill her or something, but like, maybe the mom just sucks. Maybe the mom doesn't really have a job. Maybe she's like an alcoholic or something. I don't know. Just like them going back to her and maybe going to give her up, and then sort of like doing a little bit of recon and being like, oh, we can't do this. Like again, our decent human being instincts are kicking in, and it's like, as a matter of fact, Miri being with us is a better situation for her than her going back to her mother. You know, it's gonna be a tough thing to explain though, because Miri has already kind of mentioned the mom. Um, it's gonna be a weird thing to be like, where's mom? You know, but I think they will get through it. But yeah, I'm very interested to see, because next episode, that's what it's gonna be. Like they ended the episode being like, hey, we found out who the mom is. I'm gonna send the details over. So it's like next episode will be the episode. So I can't wait for that. I'm loving Buddy Daddies. I mean, honestly, if we're just gonna do a full stop here for a second, I think Buddy Daddies might be my favorite show this season so far. We're only 2 episodes in, so we're not a lot of shows have had time to really grow and flesh out and really be what they're going to be. But Buddy Daddies, I mean, like, out of everything I talked about so far, it's like, My Hero, Blue Lock, and Eminence don't count because they've had a huge head start. Spy Classroom is cool. I think it's going a little fast for me, and I want to actually see them do some cool stuff, which I haven't really seen too much yet. Stuff like Angel Next Door and The Ice Guy. Those are very nice shows, but they're not shows at this point that have gone above and beyond to like have that extra oomph to them. And then the Magical Girl show, I think, has the promise to maybe overtake Buddy Daddies, but right now it's just a lot of setup, and like not too much has really happened yet. It's more so just like laying the foundation. So that's why right now I think Buddy Daddies might be my favorite show so far. It's just fun. It's just a fun show, you know. But let's move on to some other shows and talk about those as well. Next, we got Revenger episode 2. This is a cool show, man. This is a cool show. Yeah, this is one of those shows that I think is a little tougher to follow for me right now. There's a lot of names, a lot of locations, right? A lot of like systems in place right now. But I think they are just kind of setting up the world and like what they do and everything. A lot of politics, that sort of thing. But I'm cool with it right now. So we have Soji and Neo don't like sharing their pay with Kurima, because they're like, oh, he's just an assassin. He's just blah blah blah. And not only that, they're like, oh, and he's the one who he has no morals. He killed his what was it, his mom's fiance or something like that. He killed her just because of this. Well, because I got tricked, and Usui is like, well, that's not exactly what happened. Like, he was the honorable thing. Like, he's a samurai who does this, and like now he knows. Like, he didn't have the information, And it's like, if that is who you are, you have to do it. Like, he couldn't say no to it. You know what I mean? Like, in his mind, it was all like, in his mind, that was the right thing to do. So I get it though. It is like growing pains. Like, oh, he's a new member, and he thinks he's all that. We've been together forever. That sort of thing. But I think they'll all come around on him eventually. Then we have the dying lady. I don't really know who she is. Again, there's a lot of characters in this show. If you've been following me, you'll know I forget everyone's name. It is very hard for me to. What was that? It's very hard for me to keep up with characters and all the names and everything like that. So this like dying woman is like, hey man, I want my husband killed. Not only do I want my husband killed, I want my previous husband killed as well. The previous guy who basically sold me off to my current husband, I guess. They had a whole story there about her whole coming up and when women are young they're dumb, that sort of thing. And then we have Usui asks Kurima to join the Revengers. So that's like, they said the name of the thing in the thing. But yeah, they're called the Revengers, right? Like they get revenge on people. And, I really like this scene because, Usui's explaining and Kurima for the most part just can't get behind it. He's just like, wait, so you guys take money from people to kill other people because of some revenge that they want on them. Like that's not honorable in any sense, in any sense of the word. Um, and like, I understand a lot of what Usui's saying, where he's like, well, not everyone's like you, where they can just do it by themselves. Like, a lot of people don't have the means to get revenge or settle a score with their own two hands. But then also at the same time, Usui isn't one of those people that he's not explaining it in a way where he's like, oh no, this is honorable. He's just like, this is what we do. Like, there is a need for our position to exist. So we have filled that need. And we really think that you would be good. I mean, a lot of your stuff is based off revenge. You want to get revenge on certain people. Like, you can make money doing it. Like, this could be mutually beneficial for both of us. And it's tough because I don't think, I'm trying to remember. I don't think Karima actually agrees to do it, but but you can tell he does. So I think just the fact of them not showing us Kuruma being like, fine, I'll do it, or yeah, I want to be a revenger or whatever, like, we don't see him super ecstatic about it, I think is a very well way to show us, because Usui wasn't just able to like flip him immediately, like, these are his morals, these are the things that he grew up with, this is his character. So if Usui was able to flip him that easily, and by the end of their 5-minute conversation, Karima was just like, oh yeah, you know what? This is actually perfect. Like, then it'd be like, oh, Karima's morals were not very strong, I guess. Like he didn't really care that much about how he was raised, huh? So I do like the way they handled that scene. Then we have the buff doctor. Don't remember his name. He is a revenger. I don't remember his name though. He's the one person. I don't remember, but he's just the buff doctor. He fired like a missile arrow, just a regular arrow, for the most part. But he just got super hulked out, and it was just like, it moved at the speed of sound. It was just like Mach 5. Just like, how is this happening? So that was crazy. And then Karima coming in to clean it up. He just sliced this man in half. Like, oh, well, that was something. That was quite the 1-2 punch that they had there. And even like him flipping through the air with the moonlight. It's like, dude, this show, if anything, just the action and like the way they just murder people is very entertaining. And then teaming up with Neo and Usui, Neo was sort of playing off of this man's fantasies, I guess, which was very funny. The whole time I'm like, dude, she's gonna get you. She's gonna get you, dude. You don't even know it. And then led him right to Usui, who put some like gold film over his face, and it like hardened, and suffocated this man with gold. Quite the way to go out. And so that was very brutal as well. And yeah, that's basically how it ends. They got revenge on those people for that woman who's also going to die. But yeah. So this show for me, I think I really enjoy it. The action is very cool. I just want there to be something more. Like, I feel like it was sort of set up that the show was going to be them sort of cleaning up the political landscape of the whole, in conjunction with the whole opium stuff, right? I hope that's where they go with it, because right now it sort of just feels like a show where they just take on, like, every episode is just going to be another revenge, which is fine. That's fine. That'll be entertaining enough. But I don't think that would reach its full potential for what the show could be, of like, oh no, we're like systematically taking certain jobs, and you know what I mean? And that'd be cooler. So yeah, good show though. Good show so far. Next we have Giant Beasts of Ours, episode 2. Yeah, not too much this episode, but there are some key points. So Kumi and Jiro are now combined? Question mark. That was a little surprising for me, but we learn later on that paladins and clerics they need each other, right? I mean, clerics more so need paladins, but like, so cleric, which is Kumi, they just have this like crazy magical energy basically. And paladins are there so that the clerics can harness the energy, right? So that's basically what happened with Kumi and Jiro, is that Kumi like went inside of Jiro basically, and they were able to just go off. They're able to freaking Super Saiyan and, you know, destroy. But yeah, I do like that little explanation there, which is like, because even at the end, Jiro was like, "What are you doing without a paladin?" And Kumi was like, and so we explain it now. It's like, oh, we need each other so that we can do this. But yeah, so that was cool. Mia took Jiro's spear so he'd look for them successfully, I might add. Mia just kind of tagging along, you know, like there's really no reason for her to be with Kumi and Jiro, but she's there, so that's cool. And then Jiro will stay with them until the next city, right? So a little bit of half and half here. Like, he says it's like, oh, because they're going to be running after us, and so they're going to be running after you too. Like, they know you. You're in it no matter what now. But then I feel like there's a little side of him that he wants to be with Kumi. Like he wants that relationship again. Because again, I feel like there's that little flashback to like I think his wife or something. He does have some connection to this stuff. He knows a lot about it. He's very experienced. It is that classic relationship, like the experienced older guy, mentor type thing with it's like troubled youth, a lot of potential, but just, needs a little rough around the edges. I think it's that classic relationship, and I think he wants that, I think he wants that to kind of give his life more meaning. Because like before this, what did we see? We just saw him being like a soldier for hire type thing, taking down beasts. Like he didn't seem particularly enthusiastic about that. He was just doing it. So I think this thing with being with Kumi and Mia, I think this will give his life meaning again and make him want to live. Because especially with the whole wife thing, again, this is me reaching quite a bit, but I could definitely see that being a reason for him just kind of trudging through life, just kind of existing rather than living, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, not too much really to talk about, but I'm still enjoying the show. Again, the first episodes, really with any show, is a lot of setup. So I think this show is that more than a lot of other ones, but I think this is like the start of their journey now. They're like, oh, we're together, we're going to the next city, whatever, right? So yeah, good stuff. Next, we are now starting all the new shows that I didn't talk about last week. Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 1. Chilling with this. This is probably my most anticipated show this season. I think many people's, probably the most anticipated show this season. Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga Season 1 came out, what, a couple years ago? I think. Yeah, I think it was like a couple years ago or so. And it was great, right? Like, many people were like, oh, it's like anime Game of Thrones. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of see it. Not an exact one for one, but I see what you guys are saying when you say that. So yeah, in this episode kind of took me by surprise because it was people that we don't know. It was just this whole story. Like, who are these people? But it gets good at the end. Well, I mean, the whole episode's good, but like it hits you and it's like, oh, okay, gotcha, at the very end. But so this whole, like the first part of the episode doesn't really matter, but then we get to where their whole village is getting massacred, right? Whole thing is getting just destroyed, and it's a tough sight. It is not a good time. The mom took an arrow to the back. She's dying. Then Lada tried to fight back a little bit. That was a bad idea. She got sliced. So now we have Einar, who their whole village, he was kind of the one that was rebuilding the village. Now just lost his mom and his sister. No family left. He's also still kind of just a kid, like, don't let his physique fool you. Like he is just like a teenager or like a young adult. You know what I mean? Like he's not like 30 years old, right? And then that just destroyed him, right? We're like, something also awoke in ANR too. We have that little scene where it's like super like pulsing in his eyes and everything. So something died and then awoke within him, and I'm sure we'll see that again at some point. But yeah, I mean, there's just that setup where it's like, it's cool. Like the whole first part of the episode is cool. We're living, he brings up we have to defend the place. We're always on the losing side, all that stuff. And then for it to happen and his whole village just be decimated, it's like, oh man, But it's really cool because whenever shows do this, it's a hit or miss where it's like, oh, it's a setup, and then now we're gonna rip the character away, and it's just gonna be traveling now, you know, because then Einar and others are now being transported as slaves, right? So it's like you went from being on a farm, being pretty well respected within your village, having your own just everything, right? Like it's your life, and now you're a slave. It's like, ugh, that sucks. That is understatement of the century. That sucks. And then Einar tries to escape, right? He's one of those, but he gets whipped for trying to escape. He's, gets made an example. It's just like, oh man, it's hard to watch. It is really tough. But a little ray of sunshine, a little ray of hope there, where after all this bad stuff, right, of just being treated as a tool, right? Like people coming in, coming out, being like, oh, let me see your muscles, let me see your teeth, whatever. Like it's like, someone does buy him to then work on a farm, and it's like, okay, not bad. First off, I'm out of here, like very dreary place with all these other, tools essentially. But also I get to work on a farm again. Like that's where I grew up. That's where I am. That's where I'm comfortable. Best case scenario, honestly. For where he's at, couldn't be better. And so that's pretty much his journey this episode. Just being ripped away from your life and being treated as dirt. And then at the very end, he sees Thorfinn. Thorfinn is there at the farm. And that's their episode ends, right? Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? Thorfinn, I couldn't tell because it was literally just like we saw him and then there was like a voiceover where he was like, and that's the day I met Thorfinn. And it's like, okay, cool, man. Why does it feel like the end of like the end of a comic book? Yeah, so lots of things there. I mean, is Thorfinn also a slave? Like, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine. Like, Thorfinn is way too skilled. Like, he was taking on freaking like 30 people all by himself. Like Thorfinn grew up to be a monster. There's no way he got caught as a slave. So maybe he just works there. He's not a slave. He just, this is where I live. Like these are the people I like, and it's almost like another family almost. Or again, just like we all, we're all parts of a machine and we're chill. Like I just can't imagine Thorfinn's there against his will. So like he has to be there. Like maybe this is his family. Maybe he, I don't know. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can't wait because, again, like Einar doesn't know Thorfinn. So we know Thorfinn. Thorfinn's the man, but we don't. Einar doesn't know him. So I'm wondering what this relationship's gonna be like. How this is gonna grow. What we're gonna do? How's it gonna open up his eyes to the world? I can't wait to see it, man. Again, he's the character I wanted to see, so I'm glad that he's at the very end. It's like, okay, we're not, season 2 isn't just like another completely different story. So happy about that. Can't wait. Next, we got the Misfit of Demon King Academy season 2, episode 1. I watched the first season when it came out, again, like a few years ago at this point. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like incredible, but it was one of those isekai where I was like, okay, this I feel like for some reason it just feels different. It feels like the writing is better or the setup is better or whatever. Again, it's like we've never seen this kind of like reverse isekai before, but there's something about this one that's just fun to watch. Like, again, he's just so OP that is ridiculous. Like, we've had OP characters before, but at least we see them struggle a little bit or see them learn. Anos is just like, I can do anything ever. It's just like, yeah, it's fun to watch. I mean, it's similar to One Punch Man, where it's like, One Punch Man to me has more comedy in it, but like One Punch Man's the same thing, where it's like, oh, I just punch him once and he dies. And we know what's gonna happen, but it's still fun to watch. Anyway, let's see. What is this episode? We got Misha and Sasha. Again, we're trying to remember all the characters' names now. Ton of characters last time. So, Misha and Sasha, or Misha said that Sasha is embarrassed that Anos noticed her new ribbons. Again, Sasha, I believe, if I remember correctly, she's kind of more of a classic. She's like a classic tsundere character. So there's that. So that was a nice, cute little moment there. Mr. Didajan called out Anos for being Avos. People are like, oh, that's a joke, right? That's a joke, right? He's not the Demon King. And yeah, just kind of shows that. So that's interesting, I guess. Like, so is that like outed now? Like, is that the thing? Or people still believe him? I don't know. That was crazy. That like my first act as your homeroom teacher is to show that this character is secretly reincarnated Demon King. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then Mr. Didajan reveals himself as the Heavenly Father God Nosgalia. Yeah, he's like the creator of everything or whatever. And his whole thing is, oh, I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna shape this in my image. We're gonna kill the non-believers, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this guy. I don't know if this is the way this is supposed to go. Because in your mind, like, devils are bad, gods are good, and I feel like you're not a good god. So Anos just kills him, right? And the funny thing there is that he's like, but if you kill me, then the world will die, and I know how much you love this world. So if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. and Anos is like, yeah, I don't care, and just stabs him right through the chest and kills him. But then he reincarnates him because he's like, I mean, you're right. If you were to die, like, yeah, the world would cease to exist. But I'm only going to give you 10% of your power. And it's like, again, it's just stuff like that I think makes the show interesting, because it's so OP that's fun to watch. Because there are shows with OP characters that just aren't fun to watch, because it's just like, oh yeah, we know what's going to happen. But some shows kind of like come full circle where they're so OP, like it becomes fun and interesting again, like One Punch Man. So I think that's kind of what the show has done, where it's just, because at this point with other shows, even if they're gonna win, there still might be some like, oh, but maybe they won't, or whatever, or or like, even it's like, oh, well, we know how they're gonna win. With shows like this, you want to know what Anos is going to do. You're like, oh, well, clearly Anos, clearly Didajan has not done his homework, and Anos is going to kill this man. But I wonder what he's going to do exactly. So for him to stab him through the chest, reincarnate him, and give him 10% of his power is so funny. It's so good, And then the very end, which is kind of setting up the next episode, is that the school's been overrun by other, devil workers or whatever, subordinates. And they're here to take him out. We know Anos is Avos, and we're going to take him out. We're going to do this. You can't win. And some people have died too, like some turned to stone and stuff. I'm like, oh no, what is happening? But it's the thing where, again, like I was just saying, we know Anos is gonna win, but I wonder what he's gonna do. I wonder how he's gonna win. How he's gonna do this? So I'm interested in that. Yeah. I'm interested in the show. Season 1 was pretty cool. I imagine season 2 is gonna be right on par with it, and if it is, it'll be a good time. Not anything to be like, oh, this is the best show of the season. I don't think that's possible, honestly. But I think week to week you're just gonna have a good time. So, and then lastly, last anime of the day, we got NIER Automata version 1.1a, episode 1. This is obviously one that people were very much looking forward to. There's a lot of NIER fans out there. NIER fans are always diehard. So yeah, very, very cool. I did play NIER Automata a while ago. I don't think I played it right though. I mean, first of all, I only beat it once. You're supposed to beat it like 7 times at least to get the full story. And I definitely didn't explore the world as much as you're supposed to. you know, I kind of just like speed ran the game on accident, and I remember finishing it and being like, yeah, that was cool, that was fun, but like I wasn't like, oh my god, this is incredible, you know. But anyway, the anime was announced, and I was like, okay, the animation looks pretty dope. Let's take this. Let's give it a try. And so this first episode here, pretty fun so far. We have some setup to the world and all that stuff, and also to some of the mystery of the world. Like I think, again, I don't remember the game that much, especially not the story. I couldn't tell you. So I think the whole mystery of like, what are we being thrown into right now? What is happening? Is cool. And it is something that kind of hooks you. So let's see. We have opening up with some just cool action, right? We got 2B just killing it, right? Her sword, her little drone thing. It's just good action. It's so far it is a very pretty show. And then we get into a little bit of more story, more like character moments where 9S saves 2B. Because 2B uses like the solar beam. Then the buzzsaw arm thing is still alive, and then 2B or 9S comes in with like his like mobile suit Gundam, shoots all the missiles at it. It's like, hey, got him. So now they're a team. Then they go through more stuff, and then another one of those buzzsaw things comes up, just messes up 9S. Like 9S is not doing well. He is dying. And then 2B comes in, and it's kind of like a role reversal where now 2B takes 9S's mobile suit because 9S like gives the mobile suit permission for 2B's like DNA or whatever, to control it. And now 2B saves him, right? 2B uses part of another buzzsaw thing to then just destroy the one that's currently attacking them. So that was cool. And then even 9S has a fun little comment where he's like, "Man, you really do just brute force it, huh?" I'm just gonna smash this thing with this other thing, and that's how we're gonna win. So yeah, for the most part, the whole episode was cool. Again, it was just kind of like showing off the world, throwing us right into a lot of action, which is fun. Showing us a little bit of 2B and 9S interacting, their own little quirky personalities there. Not like a whole lot of substance, just kind of like, we're here now, and this is what we're doing. Hit the mic there. The one thing I do want to mention is the very end where 9S and 2B kind of reconvene at the bunker, I guess. And, 2B is like, oh, mission successful, blah, 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 whatever. And then 2B interrupts him and he's like, thanks for uploading our data to the bunker, because like, that's good. Now we're still here. And then 9S is like, oh, I don't have any memory of that. I don't remember doing that. And you're like, oh no, why? And then you realize that 9S, as he was dying, he only uploaded 2B's data, not his own. He didn't have time to do his own. So he chose, if I can only do one, I'm doing 2B's. And that's like, oh, whoa, that's a moment. Oh, why did he do that? Did the 9S there, like, did they like 2B, or is it just like 9S models? Like, again, there's some mystery there, like what this relationship is, what organization are they a part of? Like, what is happening? I feel like if there's just one question to encapsulate everything, it is, what is happening? What is this show? And I'm very excited to find out. Again, the animation and stuff is really cool. The action is really cool. Them just going after this like Goliath weapon. I'm like, okay. I do want to learn more, and I'm guessing this is what the show is gonna do, definitely. So, good stuff there, and that is it. That is not another isekai. Good season so far, definitely. Again, we have some leftover from last season, but I think for the most part, again, every show I'm watching so far, I don't really see myself dropping it. Of course, my opinion could be different in an episode or two. But yeah, all these shows are really fun, and really interesting, and I think have a lot of potential. So yeah, let me know what your favorite show of the season so far is. Of course, like I said, there's a good like 6 other shows that I haven't started yet that I do want to add. And then, like I said, that'll then be all the shows that I wanted to start this season so far. And like I said, at that point we'll be like 2 or 3 episodes in, probably good like 3 episodes in of all these shows, and we'll have a good idea of what all of them are, if there's any we want to drop. Of course, if there's any that I am not watching that you're like, dude, you should definitely watch this, just let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This season might be way bigger than last season, just in terms of like quantity. I don't know that quality wise it can beat last season, because last season was crazy good. But yeah, we'll be covering a good like 20 shows this season. But if they're all good, they're all good. I mean, we're not going to drop shows just to fit a number, right? Like if they're all good shows, why would we not watch them? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. Until next time, watch more anime.